Did you know that a staggering $470 billion vanished from Nvidia's market capitalization in just 1 week? Of course you would have known. Everyone and their mama has been hit by the news of the stock market tumbling down with Nvidia. Investors across the globe have been left astounded by the recent plunge in the stock of this artificial intelligence giant, following their Q2 earnings report and other gripping news that has overtaken what should have been a celebration for the AI revolution. But wait, before you jump to conclusions or consider emptying your Nvidia holdings, let's dive deeper into what exactly is happening in the stock market and explore why Nvidia's future is running on shaky grounds while experts and analysts dissect the current happenings to ease investors' worries and answer their longing questions. Hello everyone and welcome back to Investocracy.
Why? What was the trigger? Or was it just some kind of an August redux?
Yeah, look, I think there's just fears in terms of growth, not just from Nvidia, but I think across semis, and that's why you just saw a disaster day, for just the whole semi-food chain. But I just look at it, has anything changed? And look, that's why we're in Asia the next few weeks. Nothing's changed from a demand perspective. Demand continues to way outstrip supply. And then you look at earnings, I think it was sort of a muted reaction. But I think we take a step back, and this is a story where the demand continues to ramp up from an AI perspective. Blackwell delays, put to rest. I think these sell-offs, in my opinion, are buying opportunities, not the time to panic.
Nvidia, the prodigious semiconductor titan at the heart of the artificial intelligence revolution, has certainly seen better days. In late August, Nvidia's stock took a shocking nosedive, shedding approximately 15% of its value. The company's valuation plummeted by an eye-watering $470 billion in market capitalization. To put that into perspective, only 15 companies in the entire world have a market cap greater than what Nvidia lost in just 7 days. But what caused this dramatic decline? For starters, the entire stock market is down, and that may or may not have to do with Nvidia's position as a market behemoth. So, when one tumbles down, a lot more will follow. Investors were anxiously waiting for economic indicators such as a new and promising jobs report, all while keeping a vigilant eye on the Federal Reserve's impending decision regarding interest rates. Any movement in these areas will give a clearer picture of where the economy is headed and influence market sentiment as a result. And let's face it, when the market sneezes, even giants like Nvidia catch cold. But before we go any further, if you want to keep up with Nvidia's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to the video.
I just wonder, Dan, if an antitrust probe, if that escalating from the DOJ, this subpoena, if it hits your registry of concern at all for Nvidia?
Yeah, look, I think you have to put in the context of broader tech. I mean, Apple, of course, Google, we'll have another trial next week. I mean, that is just sort of the tone in the Beltway. I mean, we are just going to see some of those drum rolls. Look, we're not too concerned about this for Nvidia. I think just because when you actually look at what's happened here from an execution, the reason that they've essentially dominated it is just because how stellar the execution has been and how they've just been so far ahead. AMD and others will ultimately get into this sort of race. But I just view this as more of a scarier headline than the reality. And also in the context of what's happened in big tech, Nvidia is just part of the club that continues to be part of that pressure, Beltway versus big tech.
Before you panic about Nvidia's stock going on a crash diet, consider this. Nvidia's stock is dancing to the beat of a larger market tune and isn't the only one in the AI sector feeling the heat. Imagine a crowded roller coaster with Nvidia, Meta, and Alphabet all buckled up and experiencing the same gut-wrenching swings. Interestingly, during the recent earnings season, tech behemoths like Meta and Alphabet have shown a commitment to not just maintaining, but also ramping up their investments in AI infrastructure. This spells good news for Nvidia, seeing as these giants rely heavily on Nvidia's chips. So, in the grand symphony of the stock market, Nvidia is not playing a solo. But what if investors are simply cashing in their chips? Pun intended? Nvidia's run-up in stock price over the past few years has yielded spectacular returns, with the Q2 report neither blowing expectations out of the water nor foreshadowing imminent leaps. It's plausible that some investors are choosing to lock in their gains now, They've decided to pocket their winnings, believing that Nvidia's stock won't skyrocket in the near term. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
Part of the accusation is that it's harder for suppliers to switch, it penalizes buyers. What is the worst case scenario here? Is it a chip, a mini chip or fissure in the moat, the grand moat around Nvidia?
Look, the moat is what Jensen and Nvidia have created, right? I mean, and that's not going to change. And I can almost take the other side. Okay, DOJ is looking into this. Rather look into this, give some sort of all clear, so it's not a concern. I mean, look what we've dealt with the likes of Apple, Google, Amazon, some others for a number of years. But I don't think it changes that. And I think the reality is they are the only game in town. And nothing's changing that. From an innovation perspective, when you talk about $1 trillion of AI CapEx over the coming years, where NVIDIA is going to get a significant piece of that.
In just this political climate, though, Dan, where you have two candidates and their vice presidents who almost feel like it's a competition of who can have the most populist policies. And then you look at something like Google getting slapped for antitrust violations, too. Is this a political climate that maybe you need to take a second look at some of these big tech names that we thought were safe from antitrust regulation and scrutiny, and maybe this time is different?
Yeah, look, I think it is a little different. I mean, look, Apple, we'll see that over the next, call it 12 to 18 months. But I think after that Google win from the DOJ, I think the climate does change a bit. But I think the reality, look, we've talked about it on the show, strong have gotten stronger. I mean, you talk with your previous guys about Mag 7 and big tech. That's not going to change. In other words, big tech are going to get stronger. And I'd argue with AI revolution, that's actually accelerates. And we'll see next week, when Apple launches iPhone 16. So to me, it is changing of the climate, but I think it just speaks to just tech is just going to become a bigger and bigger piece. And big tech, even through M&A, I think that's going to be the biggest variable. FTC con, where that all goes, depending on political climate. I think it's all added to some of the agita as once September hits, going into the elections. I think that's also some of the sell-off that we've seen, just some of the nervousness going into the fall.
Nvidia, however, remains fundamentally strong and continues to be deeply entrenched in the tech ecosystem. The company's foresight, ability to innovate, and quick pivots in response to new opportunities make it a formidable player. While the stock may not hit previous awe-inspiring revenue growth rates of over 100% annually, high double-digit growth is still enviable. Did you know Nvidia's revenue more than tripled year over year? Yes, you heard that right, tripled. That's why fears about Nvidia's revenue streams drying up soon are overblown. TikTok, time waits for no one, not even AI juggernauts. AI is on the cusp of revolutionizing our economy, and Nvidia sits smack dab in the eye of this transformative storm. As we move forward, Nvidia will continue to face fierce competition. The company must stay ahead of its rivals to hold its position as the sector leader. However, the evidence of Nvidia's innovative prowess is clear, and those who are patient are likely to see AI's tangible impacts on companies' bottom lines in the coming year. Humor me for a moment.
I'm listening.
Why did the stock trader bring a ladder to work? Because they wanted to reach new heights. And in many respects, Nvidia holds that same ambitious spirit.
Yes, Scott, I think we had a good thesis last week that Nvidia was going to be volatile. Option markets were indicating somewhere between a 9% move. You just never know if it's going to be up or down. It'd be a lot easier if you did. Same thing with Broadcom yesterday. Pretty heavy indication of an 8-9% move. So what we did yesterday with Broadcom is we wrote a covered call, only a 1-week expiration, so it'll expire next Friday. But the annualized premium that we brought in was 60%. Now, I realize that sounds crazy, and it's only because of the hyper volatility heading into earnings, but we brought in $1.73 yesterday. We wrote a covered call on Broadcom, incidentally, when we did the NVIDIA call last week. We brought in $1.25. So we closed that out yesterday, wrote another Broadcom call. It brings in about $3 in premium for the past 2 weeks. Now, granted, the stock's down a lot more, but we were able to hedge 20% of today's decline with those two option trades just within the past 2 weeks. So it worked out well for Nvidia. It's worked out well for Broadcom. The stocks are trending down, so I think we want to be a little bit patient before we add to them. But I think that you'll get a buying opportunity. And we're seeing prices, Scott, similar to where we did at the at the jobs report last month when we saw the massive sell-off. So I feel like that would be a good entry point for people to buy the dip for sure.
All right, let's get to the heart of the matter. Should you consider investing in Nvidia now? With its impeccable track record and central role in the high-stakes game of AI, Nvidia's long-term prospects remain undeniably promising. Even though the stock has taken a hit, the overarching growth narrative for AI is still intact. Elevated capital expenditures from tech giants like Alphabet are a strong testament to the faith in AI's future and Nvidia's integral role in it. Currently, Nvidia's stock may seem like it's navigating choppy waters. Still, with continuous advancements in AI and unwavering demand for their top-notch chips, the potential for significant growth is substantial. Renowned financial forecasts even predict that Nvidia's stock will rebound and potentially climb to new heights in the near future. So, what about you? Do you think Nvidia's recent slip is a mere blip or a sign of a more profound problem? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your opinions and predictions. Let's get the conversation started. And finally, if you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.